Uko kuno abo bano Mama wanna get it nice. I know Buddha meso, I know Buddha tebe, I know Kaya Mari.
Right, 14 August 2023, and we are very, very close to the elections. The time that we've been waiting for has finally arrived, and it's just a matter of time before we know what is going to happen, who's going to be the president of Zimbabwe for the next 5 years. And this is the most awaited event in Zimbabwe. For the past 5 years, all Zimbabweans have been looking forward to the day when they would have their particular favorite as the president in Zimbabwe. But let us quickly look at what has happened today, and specifically, let us look at what President Mnangagwa said today. And I specifically want to go into what the thinking is in ZANU-PF. I always want to look at the players, the key players in this election. And what they say to me is very, very important. Let's look at the body language of President Mnangagwa. President Mnangagwa today addressed at the National Heroes Acre. And you could clearly see that he was not feeling well. He is not feeling well. In fact, he was struggling to finish his speech. Knowing him as I do, I could see that his energy was quite low compared to his usual self. And however, the speech was very, very calculated. And he wanted to portray a message or a certain view to his supporters and also to Nelson Chamisa. So, firstly, in summary, he obviously wanted to portray Nelson Chamisa as a puppet. So that is very, very clear in his message, although he did not mention him by name at all throughout the speech. And I'm going to play for you the clip here. I was supposed to have a guest today. My guest is not going to show up. So we're going to be very, very quick. And I'm going to wrap up because I'm going to be having a power cut within the next 10 minutes. So let's go straight to the speech. You will see what President Mnangagwa is saying and how he's saying it. Then we'll wrap it up after a quick analysis.
After waging a protracted war for 16 years until independence and freedom and democracy, we, the current generation, shall defend our democracy, our independence, our sovereignty with our blood. 23 years after ruinous sanctions imposed on our country, we will continue to defy all odds as we are transforming our infrastructure as well as industrializing and modernizing our country in spite of these sanctions imposed by the West. This must never be taken lightly. Makorokoto, the people of Zimbabwe, for remaining united under these ruinous sanctions. You are all heroes in this ongoing battle against the neo-imperialistic values, who without shame over our country's resources. Victory is our DNA, and victory is certain. We shall forever and forever defend our independence and our unity. The land reform is irreversible and is behind us. Those who dream about returning the land to the former colonial settlers are dreaming. ZANU-PF government delivered the land to the people and has seen our country realize household and national food security and sovereignty. And this is now permanent. In the energy and the power subsector, the Second Republic has delivered Wange 7 and 8, which is now feeding 635 megawatts into the national grid. I heard some other politician in the country saying he's going to open Wange 7 and 8. Oh, Takavura. Everyone is now enjoying the benefits of improved power supply in Zimbabwe.
Right. So this is a very, very interesting speech, but it shows the thinking that is happening in ZANU-PF and the kind of posture that the guys in ZANU-PF have got at the moment. So, firstly, to them, this is a war. So if you are Nelson Chamisa and you're watching President Mnangagwa speaking, you can see that these guys, they've not changed their posture in terms of how they view this election. They view this election as a war against sanctions, a war against the West, a war against imperialism. You know, the same thing that Mugabe had back in the day. The Second Republic of Mnangagwa, President Mnangagwa, they still feel that this is a war. The issue of the land reform, you remember last week, Nelson Chamisa mentioned that there will be some changes on how land reform was done. I'm sure he said in different words. But the guys in ZANU-PF, the way they see it is communicating to their people. They're saying, Chamisa is going to take away your land. Chamisa is going to bring back all the bad things that were there during colonialism. So it's still the same. The way that the ZANU-PF guys are communicating to their supporters is the language of war. This is not an ordinary election as far as they're concerned. They're evoking all the issues to do with the war, the liberation struggle, everything that ZANU-PF has ever done before. They are back to that posture of the liberation struggle, protection of the land, fighting against sanctions. This is the posture. If you're Nelson Chamisa, this is what you're up against. You're up against guys who think they're at war with you. They're not fighting an ordinary election. So this is where we are, and I wanted to just wrap it up there. Probably one of the last speeches by President Mnangagwa as president of Zimbabwe. This is the thinking in ZANU-PF, and if you understand what I'm saying here, you will be seeing a lot more as we get closer to the election. This is not going to be a simple election, as I said. This is going to be a very, very difficult election. But the post-election period is going to be even harder. And I want to keep emphasizing this point that I'm making. The post-election period that you're going to see here is going to be the most difficult post-election period. Nelson Chamisa has already said he's not going to accept any election results where he loses. And President Mnangagwa has also declared here that ZANU-PF is going to win. They're not going to take a loss. So you've got two hardline positions going into this election, and you are going to see fireworks. This is going to be extremely, extremely difficult election for both parties, and especially when the election results are announced. You can expect a lot here. We're going to be watching this, and this is the thinking in ZANU-PF. Go and watch the full video on ZBC, sites like ZBC. They have the full video of President Mnangagwa speaking. It's very, very interesting what is happening in Zimbabwe. All the pretense that was there before is gone. Look at Nelson Chamisa speaking. He's totally lost respect for President Mnangagwa. You can see what he did when he was in Chirenzi. Chamisa is now in fighting mode. ED is in fighting mode. These two parties are heading for a showdown, and it's not going to be a simple showdown that you normally see in an election. everyone is going to be protecting what they believe is their victory. And ZANU-PF is not going to take a loss in this election. That means there has to be a different approach from Chamisa. He has to outmaneuver these guys. And I don't know how he's going to do it, but that is how it is. It's not going to be simple for him because ZANU-PF has taken the war approach. They are ready to fight. They see this as sanctions. They see this as war. They see this as people wanting to take our resources. This is what they say. So let's look quickly at the comments, and then let's close out. As I said, I'm going to have power load shedding very, very soon. Prof, you're saying we citizens don't eat liberation struggle. Let's talk again on the 24th, in 10 days' time. Prof, I'll be here, and let's talk about what will be happening that day. You're going to understand what I'm talking about. Very, very sad situation arising at rallies this weekend. In Chirezi, one of the councillors there, he was stoned. We posted that video this weekend. You saw what happened in Glenview. You saw what happened in Chitungwiza. There is a beginning of a bit of uneasiness among the supporters, especially the ZANU-PF guys. They need someone to control them, someone to make sure that they don't proceed with the way that they're doing, especially at the rallies of CCC. They need to be controlled, because if the guys at CCC are not able to distribute their flyers or to put up their posters, that won't look good at the end of the day. And as I said, this election at the presidential level, it's not easy for ZANU-PF. It's going to be very, very difficult for ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is not going to have an easy ride this time around. At the presidential level, they're going to struggle a lot. Chamisa has done his groundwork. He's gone all over the place. He's well known all over the place. He's in fact the party. This is the difficulty that ZANU-PF is facing. And President Mnangagwa has to face Chamisa under a very, very difficult economy, which they cannot explain how they'll solve. So if you say to ZANU-PF, tomorrow you win the election, where are you going to start to fix this economy? That is the problem that ZANU-PF has got. They have to convince people to vote for the president, but they cannot convince them that they'll change the current situation. That is the difficulty that you have. And I can tell you, on the 24th, we're going to have one of the most difficult periods in Zimbabwe. And this is, like Nura here is saying, a turning point. And I can say it's a turning point which is coming. Everyone expects a turning point. And there will be things that will happen that you do not expect going forward. Right, I thank you very much for joining me. We'll be coming every night going forward. We're going to be going into full-fledged election coverage, and we're going to be having people on the ground. I'll also be around on the day of the elections so that we can see what is happening. I'm really enjoying what is happening in Zimbabwe. It's history in the making, in front of our eyes. And this is the moment when you need to answer the call. If you're in Zimbabwe, answer the call. Go and vote for your people. Whoever is your candidate, do not sit at home at this critical juncture. So if you are a CC person, if you are a ZANU person, go out and vote, because this is a historic vote. Everyone is watching. There is no person on this earth who is not going to watch the Zimbabwe election, because it's not going to be any different. It's not going to be the same as the past elections. This will be the most different election that you've ever seen in Zimbabwe. And if you don't vote, it will be like that time in 2008 when we went to vote, and some people didn't vote. And each vote makes such a big difference. This is why you see the organizing that CC is doing. I don't think ZANU-PF understands the extent to which the Chamisa is taking this seriously, and the extent to which he's organizing himself on the ground, on social media, everywhere. You are going to see a very, very different outcome in this election. And this reminds me of the time when I was covering the Zambian election of President Hakainde Hichilema. That was an amazing election. Even if you're covering the election, you could see or feel the difference. I feel the same now. I feel that this is a very, very interesting election, and it's going to be very, very different and very difficult for ZANU-PF. We'll cover that. And in fact, I want to obviously mention that ZEC today, they won in court. They don't have to give their voters raw. Very ridiculous ruling. I've never seen such a ridiculous ruling in my whole life, where the law says you must deliver an electronic voters roll, and the judge rules that that's not urgent. He didn't rule on the case, just said it's not urgent. The observers are going to be meeting ZEC on the 16th, so I hope that they question ZEC on this kind of things. They question the judges. If the CCC have asked them for a meeting with the judges, I think tomorrow. Let's see what is the rationale for this kind of rulings going to the elections. It shows that ZANU-PF does not understand where things are standing now. Certain people, they're going to be in a lot of trouble if they continue to break the law, because some of the things that are happening, you're actually breaking the law. The law says do a certain thing, and you're doing your own thing, you're giving your own rulings. These are the kind of things that eventually they'll backfire on ZANU-PF and the current system. The system is extensive. I always say to you, Chamisa is up against an extremely sophisticated system, and he has to win against that system. That is what I'm talking about. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow as we continue to cover the elections. Please go and watch other videos on the elections. Guys are producing incredible content. Go to my brother Tafi the Man. He produced an interesting video today. Mnangagwa hand over if he loses. Go and check out that video. Very well made. Lots of facts, lots of legal information in there, similar to what Dr. Fidas Mtenere did here. Go and have a look, and that's Tafi the Man YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and good night.
Kuno abo bano mama wanna get it, mama wanna get it nice. I know food I miss, I know food I say, I know kaya, I know